Hello, dear ones. Oh, I'm so gratefully excited to be here today with the dear soul Riona. I met this beautiful being within the house of we, which so many of you have heard me speak about here within the Forward Movement podcast. And she is a powerhouse of a guide. Her frequency of voice brings you into rooms that you have never been in before in this human body lifetime. And with so much buzzing, love, and honor for this being, I'm so excited to introduce you all to Riona. And Riona, you may open up and introduce yourself to our community.
Hello, everyone. Oh, Renee, I'm so excited to be here with you. And just thank you for that really beautiful welcome. Like, I just felt little tears coming to my eyes, just like to be seen and recognized. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm so excited to be here. So, yes, I am a lead facilitator inside the House of We. But within my own realms of my own work, and everything that I do, I'm a medicine woman, I'm a healer, I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm an artist, and I just create space to be with medicine, with magic, with spirituality, and I'm just excited to be here today to talk about whatever is going to come through. I know we got a few topics we're going to dive into, but really, yeah, let's just let the conversation unfold and what's going to continue to come alive.
Oh, Riona, how has the act of forward movement transformed your life?
What a beautiful opening question. Uh, yeah. So what comes through automatically is just the season and chapter that I'm in right now, which is so different from where I was just a year ago. And forward momentum, forward movement, really for me is so anchored within my spirituality, my spiritual practice, my spiritual teachings, and really just listening to my soul and the way that it guides me and all my guides and my healed ancestors. And, I've been so fortunate to have such a powerful journey of inner and outer transformation throughout my entire life. And I have had teachers that have come in that have been hard lessons to learn, but have always brought me to a place of being more curious about how I can be more connected with myself, how I can be more connected with the universe, with my guides, with my spiritual path. And so that is always my guiding light, is how can I just be more of a light for the world? And it's my North Star for sure. And just has me keep going in that forward movement. Even when times are hard and challenging. Um, it's the thing that anchors me and it guides me every day.
Hmm. So much love to all the steps and all the experiences that you've had from the moment you entered the world through the womb and birthed in this reality. And Riona, time traveling back years
Mhm.
ago,
Mhm.
before you stepped into this portal of identifying as a medicine woman in the consciousness that you are in now,
Mhm.
how did you approach the forward movement action
Mhm.
prior to your union with spirituality?
Mhm.
If there is even a separation there, if you've always been a really spiritual person, I would love to hear about
Mhm.
that. But if on your journey you
Mhm.
found that you weren't spiritual in a few years in the beginning, what did that look like and feel like for you?
Yeah. So, I would say I've always had a lot of depth. Even when I was like 16, my soul, I felt 65, and I it was hard. It's hard to, when you're an old soul, it's hard to be young in a way, and the ways in which you feel like you're supposed to fit in or what you're supposed to do in XYZ. And so I feel like there's always been kind of a deeper spiritual presence that has been me that, in earlier years, I was very much expressing through my art. I went to art school in my education, and I studied art, visual art, for a long time, and that always felt like such a place where I feel like it was like the early foundation of expression of spirituality. And the thing that really just kind of broke me through to go even deeper was when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 10 years ago, which is a quote unquote incurable autoimmune disease where basically your body deteriorates over time. And I got this diagnosis when I was 19, and my world stopped. And I was being told that I was just going to be at a constant decline after being someone who was extremely healthy, an athlete, very active my entire life, to, be told you could be in a wheelchair, you could be blind, you could be deaf, like these kind of motor functions that um I've been so blessed to have and never had to question, right? And so it just brought me to this moment of, okay, I'm either going to allow this to be my reality. I'm going to allow all of these things these doctors are telling me to become my reality, or I'm going to make my own reality and what is going to be true for me. And I could just sense deep within me that that was the path I was meant to go down. And so I really just surrendered to, okay, well, there's literally no roadmap. There is no guidebook for doing this. And I'm just going to have to kind of build the ship as I go out to sea and figure it out. And dis-ease was really my first spiritual teacher because she taught me how to be with myself when we live in a world where, when dis-ease plagues our bodies, we're told to hate ourselves and hate our bodies and to fight. And that was just something that I realized very quickly that it was not going to work. And I actually had to become an ally with my body, and a friend and a lover and a partner with my body. And that has basically been the seed that I am constantly nourishing, and that path is constantly unfolding. And I would say that was the first place that really erupted my spiritual path. And it was a teacher, right, that I did not go looking for. She came to me, and yeah, we've been rocking and rolling ever since.
Oh, I'm so grateful, Riona, that in that moment of decision, you chose the decision to curiously receive the diagnosis of a disease in a way of being a teacher. And you said a moment ago that you did not choose this teacher, you did not go seeking out this experience.
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever a moment in your life that you did seek out an experience that would be like rocking the ship that you feel secure on?
Yes. Oh, yes, I have. Because, so much of so with dis-ease being my first teacher, you know, dis-ease can be such a dark journey. And, we all have our traumas, and we all have our own darkness, and we all have our things that we are met with, that we get to work through. And so, you know, I started to, it just became so natural. I think it's also kind of part of my warrior heart and spirit to, after kind of overcoming, in a sense, dis-ease and kind of moving over that giant mountain, I just realized that, wow, I can really do a whole lot. And what else is here for me to learn and understand and set myself free from? And, I would say the latest teacher that I went to go sit with, which I resisted for a long time, was, my sexuality, and something that, I've always pretty much had a really beautiful, healthy sex life, but there was just this really deep gnawing feeling that something just wasn't quite right. There was just something kind of in the background, in the shadow, that was kind of always there, and it was uncomfortable. And it was like, and instead of ignoring that, I was like, what is that? And I decided to go into it. And, what was revealed, and what I've honestly always known, but was too ashamed to be in the embodiment of and admit, was my queer identity. And, at 29, 30 years old, after identifying as a heterosexual woman my entire life, finally admitted to myself first that I'm a queer person, and that I'd been suppressing that. And, when you suppress something so big within your identity for so long, there's so much grief that comes up. There's so much heartache that comes up. There's also so much joy and liberation that also comes up. And so, yeah, within our human experience, we are tasked to deeply feel, if we choose to deeply feel what's within us. What is that thing that's kind of like knocking at the door that we can kind of feel in our subconscious? And are we going to choose to ignore it, bypass it, or are we going to step into it? And what I found is when we step into it, that it actually liberates us in so many ways and just creates such a deeper sense of peace and joy within our lived experience.
Wow, Riona, thank you for trusting this space and leaning in with such vulnerability of expressing where you are in this moment as your expression of beingness in your human experience. And as you move and play and guide others in this realm in the moment, how are you noticing this embodied expression of who you are now correlating or rippling, threading through the experiences that you interact with other people?
Yeah. Yeah, the community, my community, and just the community at large that I'm, in contact with are people who are desiring that fullness of life, that are desiring to be, in their purpose and doing their soul's work, and to be just living in aliveness. And in that, we've been so programmed and conditioned to not step into things that we know are going to be hard. So these different teachers that I've talked about, right? While some of them came to me, some of them I went to, I call them shadow teachers. Like, whether we go to them or they come to us, it's our choice if we are going to dance the dance with them. And what I found is that what I was saying before is that if we choose to not, if we choose to bypass, if we choose to not really listen to ourselves, if we choose to be a prisoner in the conditioning and the programming of society and systems and all of these different things, and not truly listen to the deepest soul need and desire of who we are as a human, we're going to deeply suffer. And this is like where I extend the invitation, lovingly and warmly, of like, let's go into the shadow. Let's go into the darkness. And this can be so terrifying, because also the other side to that, within spirituality for so long, it's been very like love and light, right? We've been like, oh yes, healing is so beautiful, and it's rainbows and it's butterflies. And it's like, yeah, that's like a part of it, for sure. But healing, like deep healing at the root, is to go down and into the root, which is when you go to the root of something, you're in dark soil, you're in darkness. There is a lot there. But we don't go into that darkness to create more darkness. We don't go in there to inflict more pain on ourselves. We go in because those parts of ourselves that have been abandoned or ignored or suppressed for so long are needing our warm and loving presence. And when we can give ourselves that and those parts of ourselves that, then we can start to kind of slowly excavate that root and bring it up to the light and replant it in soil that feels nourishing and that feels like love and that feels, like it's in a good pot or a good soil that it wants to be in and that it's taken care of and tended to. So this is just something that I'm really seeing in the collective and people who I feel are really wanting to heal. There's a big shift that's happening. And, this is just what I just stand for, and I'm standing for it more, I think, boldly and directly than I ever have. And I think that's because of the results that I've seen with clients that I've worked with within my own lived experience, that this really is the most potent modality of healing, is to go into the thing directly and hold space for it, not just try to put a band-aid over it or wave a magic wand over it and just hope it goes away.
Most definitely. And Riona, as you're sharing, it's like popping off over here. I'm like, ooh, fireworks. And what's asking to be brought forward first is how you speak of, going into the depths, into the darkness, and how you as an individual have excavated and explored and taken that expedition through your own identity and your own sexuality. And what I would love to elevate, Riona, is when you moved through this and when you're actively moving through this, it's changing the future of humanity in the moment. Your one action to say, hand up, raised up, I came here and I am who I am, period, an ever growing, ever evolving person. Now the collective has transformed through your one action. And what's being asked to be elevated is to reinforce the importance to both of us and to all beings who are tuning in and co-creating this conversation with us, is that these acts of courageous embodiment through the curiosity of who we are becoming has so much power that we will never really fully understand for humanity in general. And with this being said, what is it, Riona, that really draws you in, hooks you in, and keeps you moving forward in this momentum when it comes to shadow work and staying within the depths while still being the light? What is it that is holding you here or dancing with you here?
Oh, such a good question. I also just got like full body chills just as you were just expressing that. Just yes, 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 full yes to all of this. So, all right, what anchors me? My ancestors. My ancestors anchor me. I am so, so, so privileged that I was able to connect more deeply to my ancestors a few years ago with a really dear friend, teacher, friend and teacher, Camila. And the connection that I have with my ancestors, my well-heeled ones, my queer ancestors, is that and they remind me all the time, like, you're like, they're just like, we're so proud of you. Like, please, like we built the stage for you to be on right now. And so just do the thing, just do the thing, do the thing, do the thing. And so they're definitely anchoring me. And then, it's like they're my earth based, anchor. And then what just continues to elevate me is my connection to the ethers and the sky and, my etheric kind of guides. And, along with shadow work, I also am deeply in the work of Akashic record reading and being in the ethers of this, psychic channeling, able to connect in a deep way that is so anchored and connected into the body, yet is so psychic and can't be seen, right? It's like, it's just an experience that I feel has been knocking on my door for so long for me to, they're like, hey, come on, come and do this, come and do this. And, this last year, I was just able to create an environment, really recreate my life this last year for me to honor my soul's gifts. And I would say that would be the third thing, my soul's gifts of how I'm able to dance this dance and do all these things and continue to learn and just be a forever student of all of these things that I teach. And yeah, I feel like that's also, it reminds me so much of what you were saying earlier, Renee, is like each time that I individually choose and decide to do this thing, right? It rewrites something within our collective nature, which I think is such a beautiful reminder that literally anything that we do becomes a ripple in the collective. Outside of us, but also, again, kind of coming back to just the ancestors within our own bloodline, within our own lineage, was we talk about a lot in the House of We as well. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Crying.
Same.
Crying. Riona, to be in the same room and be in conversation with yourself and a soul who is so tapped in, turned on, tuned into the gifts that God has placed within you, and to be playing with them actively for your own enjoyment, for your own development, and therefore for those around you. Such a gift for myself. Because as I am excavating and moving and playing and like looking at this jigsaw of pieces saying, yes, and where are they? To continuously choose to surround oneself with individuals who are actively playing with the jigsaw pieces of their own unique experiences that are meant to be brought here is such a blessing. And may we continue always, 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 always to enter the rooms that may feel intimidating at first, but then let the guard down, let all of the, pedestals be thrown out, crushed, and then fertilized into our grounds. To be able to simply stand here and sit here and play here and be like, oh, we're doing something, we're creating, co-creating the world that is already here. We speak so much of the world that is coming or the future of humanity, but may we also remember that that is already here. Something I've been playing with in Riona, I would love your perspective on this, is the perception and how we see. And we speak in the house. I did it earlier with Victoria through the We Flow is, God, may I see through your eyes. May you change the way that I see and the perspective that I see. And in this moment in time where we are seeing and hearing so much collectively, I would love to open up the space for you to dive in and express what you are feeling is being called to be elevated when it comes to not only perspective, but also what is the shadowy lessons taking place right now for the individual and for the all.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to heart is just one, creating sacred space for yourself as this really nourishing foundation, right? Because if you're playing with us, right, you're moving the jigsaw pieces around, to have a nourishing, grounded, sacred space for you to return to every single day is going to be so important. So for me, this is an altar that I have in my home. I've had it for years. I change it out. I put different flowers on it. I bless it every single day. I sit with it. I pray with it. I move with it. Every single day is different of how I sit at that altar. And what that does is it gives me the opportunity to always be in deep conversation with myself. And, for a while, this was about me and my spiritual practice. And it was like that for a few years. And that was really important, right? To have our own inner world where we really are just getting to know it and its expansive nature and the depths of it. And then for me, and perhaps those who are a part of your community, after a while, when you're on this spiritual path, you start to feel these spiritual gifts come online, and you're called to your soul work and how you want to bring this, out of your living room and out and into the world. And, within that, that's one, beautiful to begin the expression of your soul gifts and offer that to the world. Holy fire. Yes, 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 yes. With that, though, what I'm finding is that it's calling us forward to be in deeper responsibility of who we are as spiritual leaders. So if you're going to, if we're going to go out and we're going to say, okay, I'm going to offer my soul's gifts to the world, I'm going to speak, I'm going to offer, I'm going to serve. That doesn't, for me, I believe that doesn't just stop with what you're doing and what you're serving in your specific medicine. It's calling you forward to be a spiritual leader, period. And what I'm seeing that as, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, in the spiritual world, there's been this like, we've been plagued with this love and light culture, right? Where there's just love, it's just light, and just kind of that spirituality is that, but really to be a human being and to be one who's deeply spiritual, it asks you to be in the human realm. And in the human realm, there's a lot of shit that happens. And depending on where you sit and your identities and your privilege and your access to XYZ, to me, for me, has always called me into a deeper state of integrity and responsibility of how am I leading in this world that ultimately creates more light? But what are the shadows that I have to sit with in order for me to create more light? So this is where and I've started to talk about this more within spiritual leadership in my community that have been more so my own practices. But I feel to be in service of humanity, we have to have practices that are of decolonization, that are of anti-racism, that are of shadow work, that are of connecting into our ancestors. So we remember who we are, where we came from, where we're no longer appropriating, we're no longer bypassing, we're no longer taking and using and exploiting, right? That's really important on a human level. And then once we will forever be a student of this, I will forever be a student of this, of understanding my humanity. But that to me creates a way more integrous anchor for us to then be in our spirituality and talk about these things like our guides and the universe and, the more etheric kind of sky wisdom that we can't necessarily see all the time, but we can really feel. It just creates a root. It creates an anchor for us, and it cleans it up. It cleans it up, and it allows us to truly lead for all of humanity. And I feel like that is the deepest assignment for all spiritual leaders right now is how are you leading for all of humanity? Period.
Period. And we wouldn't be here if we could not do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We wouldn't have come. I would not be this human vessel with this consciousness if I was not able to step out and raise a hand up, speak out. And what I'm seeing right now is this balance of the darkness, the void, the depths, the shadow, in union with the light, the air, the sky, the wisdom. And I'm not sure if yourself, Riona, have experienced this. I know I have, of like being in the void, being in the depths, and then all of a sudden getting stuck in there, and you're being like, "Whoa, hold on! It doesn't feel good anymore, but I don't know how to get out of here." It's kind of that downward spiral, And then you're up here and the Akashic record readings and like,
Mhm.
whoa, I'm a being, I'm long. All these memories come online and
Mhm.
whoa, you go places. And
Yes.
as you go places, you're like, oh, it feels good up here. I don't want to leave. But then you're not in the human, we're not in the earthly realm anymore. And
Yeah.
I wonder if that's something that just happens to be the spiritual journey, is having that like opposing duality of we're down here, we're going to stay down here. We're up here, we're going to stay up here.
Yeah. For me, the way that I create that bridge, and I love how you just spoke about that, Renee, it like illustrated such a beautiful like picture of just what I'm really playing with right now. And the bridge that I find is allowing the body to be a very sacred vessel. So, this is creating a relationship with your body where you feel yourself, like you feel. And I know that sounds so simple, but we live in a world where there are some aspects of the world that are encouraging us to numb, that are encouraging us to not be connected with our body, to hate our body, to reject our body, right? But when we can come into union with the body and really feel through life in an embodied way, to me, the body is the bridge that allows us to explore the shadows and not be in the downward spiral, and also allows us to ascend upwards and play up there for a little bit and then come back down. Right. And this is practice. This is all practice and all playing. There were times where I went down in the spiral. I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get the F out of here, and then there was times where I was floating and I was like, whoa, I need to come back down. So it's a dance and it's a practice. And for me, embodiment, guided movement, breath, vocal activation, being in the body, yogic practices, meditations that bring you in your body. I just started rock climbing again. Rock climbing, like incredible moving meditation where you're so in your body, things that bring you into your body vessel, I feel like create the bridge to be able to do this dance.
Oh, okay. I'm planting a seed right now that we are climbing together one
Yes,
day.
yes,
Whenever
please.
that's gonna be so much fun. I just posted about how this day a year ago was the last time I went rock climbing, and like this union and relationship I have with climbing, and how every time, this isn't the first time I've gone a year without climbing, but
Mhm.
every time I come back, I have more wisdom has been turned on, a different essence of strength has been birthed within me, a new texture of modality of movement has turned
Mhm.
online. And how fun it is to play in that world of
Yes.
not saying, oh, Renee, that's bad that I didn't go climbing, but instead being like, this is a gift that God gave me. Because now I'm strengthening my character, I'm building my integrity, I'm playing with my business, I'm
Yep.
doing all these other aspects of my jigsaw puzzle,
Mhm.
and the climbing piece is just like resting in the corner.
Totally. I mean, yeah, love. I got back in the gym this past week. I had a dear friend who was visiting me. I haven't rock climbed in like 3 or 4 years. And she's been climbing outside a lot. And she came to visit and she's like, do you want to go to the gym and climb? And I was like, honestly, I've really been missing it, but I'm scared. I'm intimidated. But it came back. And yes, exactly. It was like exactly how you described all of the inner work, everything that I've been doing throughout these last 3 or 4 years, it like turned on when I got onto the wall. And I just was like, oh my God. And then that in itself started to unlock a lot of things for me. And so, yeah, just holy yes.
Oh yes, and elevating this into the lives of individuals tuning in. Of it may not be rock climbing for you.
Mhm.
It may be painting or
Mhm.
sewing or pottery or soccer or baseball, softball. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter. What
No.
matters is that essence of connection with your childlike play. And I feel
Yeah.
like that essence in the body of movement and like union with relationship with this dear vessel is what is able to allow that momentum to continue of playing in the shadow, playing in the ethereal, playing in the shadow, playing in the ethereal, and weaving it into the
Mhm.
human evolution that is you, I, we, us.
Yes, 100%. And I love that you're bringing this aspect in, of play. I feel like, one, I have 4 planets in Capricorn. So like I am like all biz all the time. But this last year, I've gone through just a lot of big life transitions, a lot of grief. And I can feel that the next medicine that I get to play with is play. And it's going to be a real edge for me because I'm an old soul and would rather be healing and doing XYZ and going into the depths and everything like that. But I can feel that. And I love this invitation that you're giving all of us, that play is also such a powerful spiritual practice and that we can access it through rock climbing, soccer, pottery. Absolutely.
We came for it all. We came
Yeah.
for it all. And may play
Yeah.
be, may play be. Even when I'm in my emotional lows, it's like, okay, where is still the essence of play? Even if I'm like reading a book, mini depression happening in my emotional low, like there's still a playful act taking place, even if I have to dig for it.
Yeah.
And that's something too that I know when we're living life and it seems like we're in a really, really, really challenging season, a season that is punching us left, right, center, up, down, north, south, west
Mhm.
of lessons and quote unquote hardships. And even within those moments of challenges, there are always, 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 always slivers of a smile or a sliver of inspiration or faith. And how do you find that those slivers, when you're in the realm of shadow work, supporting your clients or yourself, how are those either elevated for the continuous growth, or are they maybe set aside to continue shadowy happenings?
Yes. So the first thing that comes to heart, is community. Having a community that really, even, if your community is 2 really close friends, right? Having people who you really love and trust are so helpful on the journey and can remind you, right? Like their energy can kind of be like a pattern interrupt that brings a smile to your face or some laughter. And I would say that that is the thing, this year, as I had mentioned, has been a shadow walk period the entire year. And um, it was my community that I created that really kind of showed up in like the most beautiful divine timing. I was in a mystery school this year simultaneously as I, had been moving through divorce and creating a home of my own, and my life being completely different and friendships changing and all these different things. I had this community of my mystery school people who all happen to be queer, and they just reminded me and also showed me what queer joy is. That for me, I feel like this is something that I've actually been meditating on a little bit. So I'm gonna riff a little. It's not completely anchored in, but I'm gonna trust what's coming through. I feel like queer joy is something that we all get to experience, even if we live in more of a heterosexual expression, sexuality, right? There is a resilience within queer joy. There is a um, like kind of a rebellious act of queer joy. It's just deep. And again, because it knows suffering, joy that knows suffering is like an overflowing fountain because there's the depth to it, and there, because like we know where we've been, we know what we felt, And we have the community of each other to lock arms and like truly say, like, I see you. You are so freaking beautiful. I love you so much. Like the way that I have had these group of people become family to me in this last year has just been a miracle, remarkable. I mean, just, and I pray that everybody on the earth gets to experience that, whether that's through friendships or your own family or schoolmates or, you know, just whoever your community is, that we get in touch with that at some point. You know, to have people around us that can reflect back to us how incredible we are, even when we're in the shadows and when shit is really hard, you know. And I feel like that for me as a guide of shadow work, you know, when I work with clients one-on-one in shadow work, I'm that presence. I do my best, my very, very, very best. It's my honor, it's my duty to show up as that presence, as that warm hug, as that mirror of love. And yeah, that's all that's come through about that.
And to reflect back to you, Riona, I have been within your rooms as a receiver of your guidance, and you bring the warmth, you bring the love, you bring the support, simultaneously bringing the safety to dig so deep. You're like, whoa, what earthly realm I am in, you know? It's sometimes it's jaguars, sometimes it's like dinosaur land, who knows, Jurassic Park. Like we go places, and
Mm-hmm.
that would not be possible. Of course, it's possible for every single soul, every single human, because if I can do it, they can do it, right? If I had the shadowy murkiness experience, then they have. And to have someone like yourself be in the room to facilitate and guide the exploration of going south, going down, going deep, going dark, I
Mm-hmm.
feel is of the utmost importance. Because when you are going into the shadowy realm and it's just yourself, or when you're surrounded by a community who may or may not be anchored in their integrity, then it gets murky, it gets tricky,
Yeah.
harm could happen, and to really use discernment in those moments. So thank you for never needing myself, or I'm sure any other client, to ever question, like, am I safe here? Because I'm always safe when I'm in the space with you going down deep. It's such a blessing.
Oh,
Blessing.
I deeply received that. Mm.
I'm so happy you do.
Thank you.
I am being asked to elevate as well. We've spoken quite a bit about the Akashic realms, and I know I've received quite a bit of Akashic readings from a dear loved one who actually came on the podcast last week.
So fun.
And yeah, she's powerhouse connection, manifesting generator. And that redirected my life completely. I was visually seeing and sensing experiences that's like, whoa, what? I'm beyond this human body. What now? And can you, yeah, can you explore a bit for any beings who are tuning in exactly what your feelings of Akashic records are, and the importance of exploring that in one's life as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love this part. This is where I get to play. This is where it's fun. I mean, it's all fun, but you know, it's a different kind of fun. So yeah, to me, the Akashic records are all universal timelines, past, present, future. And when we open the records, we have the opportunity to ask for divine guidance and wisdom. And we get to ask questions and we get to ask and make requests. And, you know, my clients who come into these readings come in with a very open heart and trusting of the space. And that first starts with them. There's a sense of they trust themselves enough to enter that type of space, because to ask a question and they all come to me with huge questions that are life altering, like literally life altering. Um, and that the first thing is they've got to trust themselves to first ask the question, right? And to trust that whatever the quote unquote guidance or answer is, that they're going to step forward, and it's their responsibility to then choose and act in whatever way. And then to come into the space and ask and receive, and then kind of not, they're always nodding to themselves. And they're always like, yeah, I kind of had a feeling that that was it. And so to me, what I see in the people who come and receive from me is that there's already kind of a knowing, there's a little bit of a whisper, and there's a desire for just deeper affirmation. And when I'm channeling, before I channel, I'm calling in everybody, the entire etheric team, all the guides, the angels, the healed ancestors, plant medicine allies, like everybody who is on this person's spirit team. I'm calling them in to give them the most divine guidance for their life in this time. And I feel like this is so important for those of us who are really desiring to live from a place of the soul instead of the mind. The mind is so incredible. The mind is such a beautiful bank of intelligence. And the mind also has its tricks, it has its limitations, it has its guards up in different ways, because the mind is also meant to protect us. So, the mind doesn't like change because it doesn't know what's going to happen next, but it's the soul that has the deeper trust, that has the deeper knowing, that even if the mind is afraid, the soul knows it's going to be okay, because there's a deeper knowing, there's a deeper sensation of, no, but I know that I meant to go this way, you know? And so I feel like if you're someone who's desiring to live from a place of the soul, making decisions and moving and being in this place, then Akashic Records is such a beautiful place to explore and play. And, ultimately it's up to you. You get the guidance, and then it's your discernment, your decision making, your timeline. There's no pressure. It's information. And but I always feel that every single client that leaves a reading with me, they feel peace. They feel nothing but peace. There's just a effort, even if they are about to go make some really hard decisions, there's a deeper calm that's within them that's like, and I'm listening to my soul. And that just feels incredible.
May every being receive that sensation,
Mm-hmm.
an experience of peace, whether that takes place through Akashic records or community, or watching the sunrise or sun fall, or witnessing a bug jumping between blade of grass to blade of grass, or a snowflake falling onto their nose. May every single being receive the sensation of joy and peace,
Mm-hmm.
and the calmness that you feel when you gaze out at a lake.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's one of the reasons that we're here as humans,
Mm-hmm.
is to be in the void and to play in the sensations that arise from the void, and to be in the dreamy ethers of rainbow frequencies and crystally crystals,
Mm-hmm.
and then to drop in and simply witness what God has created and witness what the consciousness has created.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so powerful. And the moment that we do that, when we gaze into the mirror and stare into the eyes and just keep staring and staring and staring into the eyes, and all of a sudden the face transforms into all of the ancestors, past, previous, and you're like, whoa, what's happening to my face right now?
Yeah.
There's a red thread connection, umbilical cord to the lake of peace that
Mm-hmm.
was being felt. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yes.
Riona, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you. is I'm wondering, what is it that you feel is of the utmost importance for individuals receiving this conversation to lean into right now?
Hmm. Hmm. What's coming through is to trust your path. Trust your path, trust your path, trust your path. And yeah, just knowing that the more that we allow the soul to be the guide and be the thing that is ushering us forward, um, you are not going to always know where you're going. And that can be so scary. And there's also so much excitement that lives in the mystery of what could be when we let go and we surrender. And surrender is a conscious act. It's not just like I'm just letting go and free falling. Like it takes so much to actually surrender. And when we do that and we trust our path, I mean, I just feel like something incredible is going to happen. From
It
all of
definitely
what we've
is.
talked about that. Yeah, from like all of what we've talked about, and we kind of talked about the just different pathways that you can kind of take to allow your path to unfold for you um in the way that it's meant to in this moment in this time, and to trust that whatever your kind of that inner pull. And that's like what you actually, this kind of brings me back to your first question, Renee, is like, what's the forward movement? Like, what is that? There's this pull that I feel energetically in my body, that brings me in the direction that I'm going. And a lot of the time I cannot see at all what is going to happen. But I'm learning more and more to trust it. And I really pray that more people feel that sensation, and it just brings them to a place where they just feel the most alive within themselves.
Yes. Yes, because that sensation is the most exciting sensation that I have experienced so far in this human journey. Of
Mhm.
like, whoa, we're going somewhere.
You
Don't
know,
know where we're
I
going, but we're going somewhere.
and I like knew, like, as I was describing it, I was like, I know Renee knows what I'm talking about. Like, she has her own experience of what that is. So yeah. Uh-huh.
I feel we
Totally.
all do at some point, in some way, in some form. And
Hmm.
what I would love to plug in here as well is in the dance of moving with the blindfold on, not seeing, in that expression of, I said yes to this and we're going in the direction, but I don't know what the outcome is and I don't know what the purpose is. May there be, at least for my own journey, some form of a plan or a strategy or a security built in. Because from a line 3 in human design, bumping into life, there are no mistakes, only choices and feedback, choices and feedback. I have experienced 2 times where I made a choice, so excited about it. I'm like, this big, but then I didn't have the backup of like financial support, and it threw my entire nervous system off in a way that was not needed, was not necessary,
Mm-hmm.
self-induced.
Mm-hmm.
Lessons and medicine out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm elevating this to reinforce the importance to any beings who are on the precipice of saying yes to something. May they ask if their nervous system is ready to
Mm,
take that step, or financially, are they ready to take that step?
yes. And I feel like that I'm so glad you're bringing this in because that is such a dance, right? Of allowing the soul to guide, right? Feeling that energetic pull, I'm going to go this way, which ultimately you're going to take a lot of risks doing that. And also having, I talk about this a lot actually with my community, having a foundation under you. Like, no matter what that is, not necessarily like, okay, I'm in the most perfect situation ever for me to do this, but just having enough, having a plan, having the strategic, um, just mindset to kind of zoom out and be like, let me look at all the pieces of this, right? To really to just know that you're held, right? It's like we are always held, but it comes back to the fact that we're human. We got to do the human things. And, having financial support, having support where our nervous system feels like, I feel like I'm in an okay spot to do this, right? Is very, very important. And I'm so glad that you brought that in. And again, I think that's a lot of what we were talking about of anchoring into your human. Like, all right, like we're deeply spiritual beings, but you got to keep that anchor in your human, that you live in this world and this is how, it works, and it's deeply important to acknowledge and just be in the presence of. We don't have to obsess over it, but to, just acknowledge that it's a thing. And we get to, I was talking to my therapist about this today. We get to take care of ourselves, and taking care of ourselves means we are creating a financial foundation for ourselves. We are creating a nervous system of resilience. We are, right? All these different things play their part for sure.
Most definitely. And the word that's buzzing, buzzing, buzzing is responsibility. And you
Yeah.
briefly mentioned it in this conversation. And I know the house speaks so much of it within the doors. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what it is. It's responsibility of the human. It's your
Mm-hmm.
responsibility to take care of yourself. And it's your responsibility to say yes and jump off the ledge, so to speak, of the depths of curiosity and the unknown with the parachute attached to you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to jump off without the parachute. And the parachute is exactly what you spoke of and what we're
Mm-hmm.
speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Riona, my
Mm.
dear one, closing out our conversation today with a question, if that feels juicy good for you.
So good. So good.
Coolio Papulio. So I'm wondering, what is alive for you in your life right now that is embracing forward movement?
Mm. Ah, let's see. Let's feel. Mm. Yeah. So I have a tendency, this is like a mind thing that I'm playing with and working with right now. I have a tendency to go back in the past a lot and replay things and kind of be there. And I feel like it's always important to be in a space of reflection for sure. But I'm feeling forward movement and momentum in my life to truly not forget about the past, not reject it, but also to not obsess over it and to look forward at the path that's in front of me, who is around me, who is walking beside me in my journey. Um, what am I, doing? What am I creating, and for what? And it's this bigger question, which I haven't asked myself in a really long time, but as things just really started to, as the grief subsided from this year and things just kind of started to simplify for me. And we're in the fall, winter seasons now, and it's kind of, things are slowing down, and I'm just really being with myself and finding just more peace in solitude. I'm just asking myself the bigger question of like, what am I creating and doing with my life as the big question? And not, of course, at first I was like, well, I got to answer that. And instead, I've relaxed over the last few weeks of like, I'm just going to let my life show me. Like, if I'm no longer obsessing about the past and I'm kind of looking forward now into the void space, into the mystery, into like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm showing up every single day and I'm saying yes and I'm playing and I would say that is what's bringing me a lot of forward movement right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for opening up your heart, opening up your loving soul, and pouring into this room and the co-creation of whatever was just created and planted today. It's
Yes.
so beautiful. My dear one, the people and the beings who are totally connected and desiring more of your wisdom and guidance and love and insight and playful exploration of life, where are they able to find you outside of this space today?
Oh my God, totally. So Instagram is the place I play most. My handle is at Riona Rising. And yeah, I just, I've really cultivated a different relationship with that app where it feels like my art studio and gallery. And I'm just in there creating all the time and I'm sharing and I'm it just feels like a portal of expression. So that's where like everything most alive always lives. And then there's, places and links and things like that where you can find out more about just my work and getting connected that way. But yeah, that's the place where we can for sure continue to connect if you desire.
So beautiful. And it's most definitely art gallery up in there. It
Oh, thank
feels that way. Every time I tune in, I'm like, oh,
you.
feel like I'm walking through the gallery itself.
Mm,
And just thank you for your expression and your beingness and your courageous act of forward movement in this life. We love you so much, Riona. Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Renee. Love y'all so much. Love you. This was such a gift to be here with you today. Yeah.